Eclectic Steve here, bringing you a review of the new Apache rugged mobility cases from Harbor Freight. I want to talk to you first about the dimensions of the cases. The Apache 1800 versus some of the Pelican cases out on the market that have been around forever, and also some of the other features between the two. On the dimensions, the 1800, what Harbor Freight has listed on their website and also in their catalog, they're saying to compare it to the Pelican 1120. As you can tell, size-wise, that's pretty significantly different. And then if you actually look on the bottom of the case, the internal dimensions here listed are actually almost identical to the internal dimensions of the Pelican 1200 case. And again, as you can tell, those are significantly different. So after measuring the inside and the outside of the case and looking on Pelican's site, it looks like the closest thing you can get is the Pelican 1150, and the dimensions are pretty close to the 1800. Just be aware of that as you're looking through trying to figure out which one better suits your needs. On the dimensions, let's actually take this open and do some measurements of the interior of the case here to give you an idea of what you're looking at. The case here looks like it's sitting at 8 3/8 of an inch in length. And in width, we're looking at 5 7/8 of an inch. And then the bottom of the case, or the actual interior here, we're sitting just at about 3 inches. And then the lid, we're sitting at just about 3/4 of an inch. So the height is 3 3/4 of an inch total if you include the bottom of the case and the lid, which is how Pelican actually does theirs when you're looking at their dimensions, so keep that in mind. So with the case open here now, we can see the different foam options here. You've got the lid foam that protects things as you close the lid on them. And then on the very bottom, you've got another thin layer of foam that allows you to just keep a base layer in there. And then you've got 3 pieces of the pick and pull foam. So you can actually go through and you can see you can separate these individual pieces and pull them out to create whatever shapes you want to be able to put your items in there. And there are 3 separate pieces. That's different than the Pelican cases. So the Pelican cases, you end up with a single chunk of foam on all of the different models that I have. If you're wanting to be able to layer items inside where you're having different layers of smaller electronics or pieces or whatever, this is much more versatile with the Apache case. And then you can always glue these together or don't worry about it, and you can still get a kind of a single block feel out of it. So it just gives you a little more versatility. Another thing you can tell while I've got this open, the Pelican cases all have an automatic pressure release valve that allows it to release internal pressure that's inside the case so that it helps it keep more waterproof. Now, the Apache case is not the same. So the Apache case has actually a manual release valve. So you actually have to unscrew this, let the pressure out, and then screw it back shut again anytime you're going to close the case and take it near water. So that's actually on the instructions. If you're going to have it near water and you care about the waterproof, you actually have to do that. Now, that also means that there's actually a screw stud sitting inside here. So it could get in the way of some of your storage potentially. Typically, you end up with an outer layer of foam here that you leave in as a protector around all your items. So most likely that's not going to impact it. You can see actually where it's kind of notched in this one, but it actually doesn't go past that first spot that you're normally going to leave there on the outer foam layer. So it shouldn't impact your storage, but just be aware of that if you're trying to fit a exact precise object inside the case. Something else to keep in mind as we're looking at the differences between the cases, the one Harbor tells you to compare it to is the Pelican 1120. The 1120 and the Apache 1800 have very similar latching systems, so not much of a difference there, so that's not a big deal. However, when you actually go to the case that's the same size as the Apache, which is the Pelican 1150, the latch structure changes to the same as the 1200 here. It has a double throw latch, and that allows it to actually be a little easier because you have a little bit more leverage to be able to pop the case open. Okay, so if you have a lot of stuff inside and it's getting outward pressure on the inside of the case, you can actually get into a place where these actually get pretty tough to open. So having the double throw latch allows it to be easier to open and shut that case down. So that's a nice feature to have. Some of the other differences we have between the cases, Pelican mentions on their site that all of the metal parts are stainless on their cases. So the pins that hold on the handle, the latches here, and then also the metal pins that hold on the hinges, those are all stainless. And I believe that's partly why they say that these are durable against corrosive materials and chemicals. I don't know what the components on the Apache are made out of. They may also be stainless, but Harbor doesn't mention it, so I kind of doubt it. As well as I'm pretty confident that this screw here inside is not stainless. The smaller components, it's harder to tell to get in and look at them, but that's going to affect potentially your corrosive resistance. So if you're going to be around chemicals or salt water, be aware you're probably going to get a decent amount of rust on these components. So that may be a reason to step up into the Pelican if that's something you have to worry about. All right, something else we should pay attention to is the waterproof rating and the dustproof rating on these two cases, okay? The Apache case from Harbor is rated IP65 or Ingress Protection 65, whereas the Pelican is IP67. The first digit, 6, indicates the level of protection for solid particles or dust getting inside the case. So they both got the same level of protection there, so that's good. But there's a difference on the second digit. So these are the 65. So the 5 indicates that it is resistant against water coming out of a hose or nozzle in any direction. So even if the water's coming against the seal between here, that's fine. It's protected against that. But the 67, the 7 actually indicates that it's protected against immersion or submersion in water up to 1 meter. So technically, these are not rated to go underwater and still protect your gear. They may or may not protect it, but it's not something that's actually certified to protect against it. So that's something to be aware of as well. Okay, so that's the main differences between the Apache 1800 and the Pelican 1150, which is the most comparable Pelican case they have to offer. If you have any other questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I can go ahead and answer back to the best of my ability. Thanks for watching.